So, I'm sitting here today in my comfortable hotel room in Halifax with Andy Howell on the spotlight. How are you, Andy?
Great,
Thanks for joining me. I know you from the Acoustic Soundboard forum. You're also active on some other internet places.
Yeah, I mean, I first got involved in guitar forums back before the web, in the days of rec.music.makers.guitar.acoustic, whatever you call that. Yeah, you know it well.
Yeah.
And I found it amazing because you would, you'd suddenly find yourself chatting to some really brilliant guitar players in the States, because they cottoned onto that system very early on to arrange bookings and deal with managers and stuff. That was quite good fun. And then I created a UK.music.folk group for a while. And, suddenly I'd be chatting away to people like Dick Gocken as an old friend and things. It was really quite interesting. So I think if you're interested in any kind of small, minority interest, as it were, they're great things. I mean, in another life completely, I do a lot of hill walking, and I've got a mate who is a trained audio engineer, BBC trained, and he's been running, well, the two of us would be doing podcasts and stuff on the outdoors world for 12, 13 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's great.
So you're an early adopter of the podcast genre?
I think so, because there's just so little that you can hear in the mainstream broadcast world. A few years ago, Channel 4 launched the intention of creating a new radio station or two, and one of the things they were going to do was to pick up well-produced podcast material for national broadcasts, but they ditched those plans, and you can see why now. I mean, with high-end audio. But I mean, the world of podcasts out there, audio podcasts, they're just fantastic. Otis Gibbs is Thanks for Giving a Damn. Have you come across that?
I haven't, no.
God, anybody listening to this, go and search out Otis Gibbs. Thanks for Not Giving a Damn. Otis Gibbs is a Nashville-based songwriter, great guy, but he's produced this series of podcasts with musicians, and there's no music in them. They're just people talking about stories about being on the road or their music, or there's a whole series of somebody's talking about Elvis's first recording session.
Wow.
And they're just absolutely fascinating. You wouldn't get that anywhere else, but of course people are doing it for the love of the genre or the love of the music or whatever, and it's just fabulous.
Wow.
Otis Gibbs, Thanks for Giving a Damn.
I'll look that up.
Check that out. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He started doing some slightly weird stuff on that as well.
Aye. I wonder if I came across you then on the RMMG group.
Probably.
I was a bit of a late comer to that. I came into it when the Acoustic magazine had a forum, the American magazine.
Yeah.
That would have been about 2001, I think.
There was a period where they used to put out CDs. They used to invite people to send material in, and they put out an RMGG, whatever it is, CD. That was interesting. And that kind of global thing. I posted an instrumental tune I'd written up there, and somebody said, "Do you mind if I play that tune?" And I said, no. It was in California somewhere, and didn't think anything of it. And I recorded the tune again for the Santa Cruz Guitar Owners Forum about 10 years ago. And a woman emailed to say, "I know that tune. There's a guy plays that." I thought, wow, there you go. That's interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, I think the internet stuff is really interesting as a way of learning. I mean, I've been interested, for example, in a particular piece of kit the last few weeks, and I know that Larry Pattis, the guitar player in the States, has got it. So I've just had a long chat with Larry about it, and you couldn't find that information out anywhere else, really.
What is the bit of kit?
It's the Tone Dexter. You seen
it? Oh no, I'm thinking. No, I don't.
Very clever piece of kit. It's very simply, it's a digital preamp, and it has two modes. It has a record mode, so you plug your guitar into it, and then a mic.
Yeah.
And it takes a digital fingerprint of the pickup and the mic, and then you take the mic away, and when you put it in play mode, just using your pickup, it takes the digital fingerprint from the pickup and makes it sound more like the mic.
So
very, very clever.
It's like what the Fishman Aura and the...
Yes, except you do it yourself. You create the recordings yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess digital technology is now getting to the point where it's really useful and really interesting.
It's really come on in leaps and bounds, hasn't it?
I mean, I know there are lots of people that say analog is better, but I just think that's nonsense, really. You know, if you want to get a nice warm sound to a digital recording, it's not hard to do, is it?
Yeah.
You know, just put a little bit of distortion in it and stuff like that. But it's digital technology is absolutely fabulous. But you know, and it's a great democratic force. But it's probably also why people are finding it much more difficult to make money now at anything. So, you know, interesting.
No, I agree with you. I'm a digital advocate. I had a Mama Bear, a D-Tar Mama Bear I used to use. And now I'm going into a laptop when I play. I use the Apollo UAD Twin.
Yeah, a few people do that.
And it was Pierre Ben Suzanne.
Yeah, I was about to say, he does it. I've seen it, yeah.
I saw him use it, had a word with him, said, right, I'm going to get into that. And what a sound. It's just phenomenal what you can do with that.
Yeah.
And I've set it up with, I've got a loop pedal and I've got a microphone splitter. So I've got bits going everywhere. It's so complicated.
I'm in awe of that. You know, I look at your videos through. I mean, I won't go anywhere near a loop machine,
right?
Because I can sense the notion of complete obsession. I'm not gonna, I've got a friend who uses one. She's very good at using it. There comes a point it leaves me cold though. But I mean, it's I guess you could play for hours and hours on with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was a means to an end because I was made to go solo because my both bands split up last year and I wanted to keep playing, but a lot of the stuff I did in the band obviously doesn't work solo, and so the loop station.
Have you tried one of these vocal harmonisers yet?
I haven't. One of my friends has one. She calls
they're
it the
interesting.
McLeod sisters. Her name's Heather McLeod.
Yeah.
And the harmoniser, she calls them McLeod sisters.
It's very interesting. It's a bit weird the first time you hear them. You go, whoa, where's that saying? But they're very, very good now. The TC Helicon is the one I played with.
Right.
It's very, very good. Very good. And you know, it's getting the point. So long, it's like all this technology. If you use it sparingly, it's very effective.
It's easy to overdo.
Yeah, but you can just have a vocal double, or you can use 3 or 5 part harmonies. Yeah, very, 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 very good. Just subtle. With a bit of restraint, and they work really well.
Yeah, I'll probably stick with what I've got for now until I've got more of a hang of it.
Well, yeah, it does get expensive stuff, doesn't it?
It's not so much. Well, that is obviously a big factor, but also the amount of time it takes to set up when you're playing solo.
Learn how to,
and
because
you turn up with a van load of gear. It's
and you've got to use it regularly because you just forget how to use it otherwise, don't you? I mean, I've got an old chorus pedal, which I used to use about 15, 20 years ago, and occasionally I dig it out, but I have to remind myself how to use that, so God knows I might be getting on with something else.
So you have a Lucas guitar.
I do.
You have a Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and a Martin J40,
J40.
Which is an interesting instrument. I didn't realise until I bought it that Martin have a bit of a thing that each time a new member of the family takes over the running of the company, which only happens every 40 or 50 years or so, they introduce a new model. So this was Chris Martin's introduction. So it's a quadruple O series guitar with a kind of dreadnought depth to it.
Right.
So it's a big sounding guitar, but it's
so small body but deep.
No, quite big body.
Quite big.
It's bigger than a triple O. So quadruple O, and it's it's kind of not similar in dimensions, though not shape, to a J45 or something like that. But it was a great guitar. I used to use that for open tunings for years and years before they started becoming much more common. And it was, I don't know what was wrong when they built it, but the quality control was terrible. You just look at it and bits fall off it. So I retired that from the road about somewhere in the 90s. but still a cracking guitar. I took it out. My Lucas was having some work done on it a couple of years ago, and I took the old Martin out somewhere, and I was amazed at how good the pickup system sounded.
Right.
So I've got the 3, but really I only ever play the Lucas now.
Right.
I don't really go anywhere near the other 2. So I occasionally pick up the OM for a bit of ragtime or something like that. But no, I use my Lucas pretty extensively now. I think they're fabulous guitars.
I would agree. Having bought one
Absolutely
myself.
Fabulous, yeah. I mean, I you got smitten, didn't you, when you met it? I mean, I commissioned mine from him, and which is a very interesting experience, commissioning a guitar from a luthier, because the upside of it is you're probably going to get a far better bang for your buck than you would do paying that cost commercially. But then, I mean, I went over and Adrian said, look, bring your favourite guitar with you. So I took my Santa Cruz, and we talked about what I didn't like about it. You know, so I wanted a fingerboard that was slightly wider and stuff like that. And he heard me play, so I played on that guitar the stuff I was going to play on the new Lucas. You know, and then you think, well, that's great, and you go home and just sit and wait for 6 months to turn up. And then you start thinking, hang on a minute, what happens if I don't like it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, my other guitars are both expensive guitars, but I spent the hours in the store playing them before I choose them. So, you know, you turn up on the faithful day, and I just picked it up. And I think one of the skills of the luthier that you don't read much about is interpreting what people want, because the neck action and the width was just exactly what I wanted. You know? So it's just so comfortable for me to play that I just take it for everywhere now. I don't bother with anything else. So, you know, it gets a bit thumped about a bit on the road, but then again, you know, I'm not one for having guitars in cases. I don't really do that. So, yeah, great. It's a great thing to do and I think if, particularly for younger players who are looking to get their first really good guitar, and you're spending, you know, $3,000 on something, it's a lot of money, you know. It's worth having a look at the bespoke luthier market. Okay, maybe you won't have the same resale value, but you'll get more bang for the buck that way. So I'm glad I did it. Yeah.
Without having had experience of different body shapes and woods and styles, it's difficult to pin down what would actually float your boat.
I do think that, I think it gets easy. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that somebody goes and, well, if they want to, they can, but I think if you're going to spend a lot of money on a bespoke guitar, I think you need to know what you want. Yeah. You know, need to know what musical genre you want it for, which body shapes you like. I think you do need. It gets the older you get and the more confident you are in terms of what you want. It's a lot easier to do. Yeah. You got to know what you want to get the stuff for. But it's a very interesting thing, and it opens up this whole area of luthiers and European luthiers as well. I mean, I've been to the Berlin Holy Grail guitar show, and I was just knocked out by the quality of instruments being made by young kids right across Europe. Yeah. You know, as good as the Americans, any day of the week, and just some fabulous stuff. So there's some real talent out there.
Even just in the UK, some of the guys that are here this weekend.
Phenomenal. So when I was in Berlin for the first time, I played a guitar that was sitting on a stand to do with sustainable woods or something, and it was like a J45 shaped guitar in lacewood, so it was a very white looking guitar, just stunning. You had that Gibson thump, but it had a little bit more top end. It was really great, and I said, who on earth made this? And they said, he's not here at the moment. He's at college, Luthier College in Belgium. He's just finished. He hasn't finished yet. He's only halfway through the course. It was just sublime. And you think, well, we've got some good talent coming on its way. Yeah. So,
speaking of European luthiers, one of the guitars that I love the most is my Heiner Dried Center, which I bought when I met Heiner at a trade show in Osnabrück. It was Peter Finger's Open Strings Festival, And this weekend is the first chance I've had to try another of Hein's guitars. As another attendee has one with him this weekend. But Heiner sadly passed away last year.
Yeah.
So there will be no more.
Was that burnt? Yeah.
Burnt? Yeah.
I mean, there's some fabulous. There's a woman in Austria, Christina Kobler, just makes absolutely stunning guitars. The clarity of them is just phenomenal. So, yeah, there's some great talent around. And the great thing of something like this is you get to see stuff you wouldn't normally see. I mean, you have to go and find a quiet space you can actually hear it because there's too many guitars playing. But yeah, no, I love these things. What do you do? People say, what are you going to do this weekend? Just hang around playing with guitars. It's a bit like those guys baby boomers who end up spending all that money on motorbikes. It's just the same kind of thing, isn't it? Really?
It is, yeah.
So,
and I love it too.
Yeah, so it's great. It's great to do that, and great fun. And the nice thing about this one, I mean, the RMGG one's a little bit more professional, I think, in the sense that they've got PA systems and stuff like that. This one doesn't do that. It's designed to be more encouraging to somebody starting out. Mm-hmm. So you'll see some people tonight singing songs or playing live for the first time, which is a great thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because those of us who've done it forever, you kind of take the experience for granted, don't you? But when you play and you're terrified and you play something, you play it for the first time, and then you finish, and there's that little gap, and then the applause comes in.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world, I think.
I broke my performing cherry at the RMMG.
Did you?
In Buxton, yeah.
Yeah, because I always think of you as a very seasoned performer.
No, my first RMMG gathering, I think, was 2004.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. Could even have been 5. And George Duff, I don't know if you've ever come across George, another Scot. I played my piece, and then George came up and handed me a glass of whiskey, and it was the most enjoyable glass of scotch I ever had. You know what it's like when you've just finished a performance and what
it's fun, isn't it? We've got this workshop on songwriting, and that's a bit similar. You write a song for the first time and you think, okay, that's quite nice, quite like that, and you take it out to an audience. And there's one song I wrote a few years ago about Scottish Highlands, and I thought I really like that song. And I used to go out and play anywhere, and people come up to you afterwards and they say, I like that song, or I like that. And no one ever mentioned this song. And when I played it, it seemed to get a kind of muted response. So I just dropped it, from the set. And then I played a local festival, and the people that following me didn't turn up, so the guys just keep going. So I did. So I thought, dig that song out, so I dug it out again. Somebody in the first row said, that's beautiful. That was enough. That song was then finished and accepted, and it just moves on. So I think if you're a player, I mean, it's not necessary for everybody, but I think that communication between you and an audience is part of the dynamic, isn't it? And it's,
I would totally
certainly if you're a songwriter, you want to get the stuff out there, but for anybody, I think if you're performing in front of an audience, it's it is terrifying, but it's very gratifying at the end of the day, isn't it? I
find myself on the way to a gig saying to myself, why do I keep doing this? And then on the way home I think, that's why.
Yeah, I mean, and some places I did there's a pub near me in the centre of Birmingham, which is quite close to the International Convention Centre there. So when there's a big convention centre on, it tends to get very busy. And I was there one night, and this bar just filled up with people who were, just kind of intent on getting completely wrecked, basically.
Right.
And I thought, this is going to be a dreadful night. And you were standing at the microphone, all you can hear is the audience chatter coming back and all that stuff. You struggle through the first song, and then they'll stop, and they loved it. Suddenly it became a great night. You just can't predict what's going to happen.
No, I had that experience 2 weeks ago when I went into a bar. And there was a hen night in, and oh my God, the racket was unbelievable. And I just played for myself, and then at the end I got some amazing feedback from some of the people. It's
funny how it happens, isn't it? But that dynamic with an audience is part of being a musician, I think.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, particularly, a lot of people pick up guitar playing again when they retire or they early retire. And I always say to them, look, go and just try an open mic, because everybody there wants you to succeed. People are very kind and they're very enthusiastic. And, I've met a few people recently who've done that and have just regularly just gone out on the circuit now, which is great, I think.
Can you remember your first performance?
Oh, first performances, yeah, some interesting ones over the years. I was in a trio for a while, this is going back quite a way, with a mate and his girlfriend, and she got a lovely voice. Wasn't that strong, but it was very pure. She got a really nice voice, but she had all kinds of problems through stress, and turned out to be mental illness in the end. We went and did our first gig at the Warwick Folk Club, and we went down a storm. It was great. And then every gig we did after that got a bit worse. It was really funny. So we just had to become a duo in the end. So you just I don't know. And I have gaps from doing it as well. I ran a club for quite a long time.
All right.
And just got tired. I mean, there were two of us did it. And then one dropped out, and I kept doing it each week and lugging the PA around and all that stuff. I just had to stop. But the thing that's really different now is the smoking ban in pubs.
Right.
If you remember what it was like,
I do.
I could only do really one night a week doing that, and it was just everything reeked of tobacco.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to be in that environment too much. Whereas now with smoke-free pubs, a lot of the youngsters I know today that are out 3 or 4 nights a week playing, and it was never really an option when we were younger because of that, I think. It was just a very unpleasant environment to be in. So the whole scene has changed, the whole context has changed, which is good. Early gigs, I can remember being terrified. I've got a better memory now of some of the most weird gigs I've ever done. As you do. But, yeah. So you've got into it really recently, but thrown yourself into it, haven't you?
Well, the last 10 years, probably, no, maybe 15 years, I would say. We moved to Arran in 2008 and hit the ground running, really.
Yeah.
I'd been playing in Luxembourg. That was where I used to go out to open mics.
Yeah.
And there was a little Irish pub down in the lower part of the city where I made some great friends and had a great time. And that's really where I started to get comfortable doing it. And when I moved to Arran, I'd been playing bluegrass music, and I met a fiddle player there who had played bluegrass music and then kind of moved away into the Scottish and Irish stuff. So when I came along looking for a bluegrass fiddler, he just jumped at it. He was all over it. And
I like that crossover between the traditions.
Yeah.
Because of course, much of bluegrass came from Scotland in the first place.
You can
anyway.
definitely hear the influence.
And I was there's in the Highlands. You ever been to the Knoydart, which is a kind of,
I know where it is. But
it's like it's a peninsula really, but there are no roads in. You've either got to walk in or go by boat, by boats from Melek, and there's a pub there which is supposed to be the most isolated pub in Britain, which is great. And I was there, I don't know, a few years ago, one summer, and these 2 young Canadian musicians turned up, and they'd just come along. Wanted to come to Scotland because of the Scottish tradition and heritage, and they'd heard about this place, and they'd come over, and they said to me, we're just hoping to find some music. Do you know about it? And I said, well, not really. I've been hiking in the mountains for a week and just finished. So I agreed to meet them that evening in this pub, and suddenly it filled up with locals. It was just absolutely wonderful, But I love that idea of the stuff that moves, from Scotland, Ireland over to the sea and then comes back again. I think that's really fascinating. Traditional music thing,
Of course, you get the Celtic Connections Festival, which seems to be...
Yeah, I've never been to that. It's one of my ambitions. Every year, I think I'm going to go, because there's not much else to do at that January, is there really? So I just think, that just looks the most wonderful thing to do. But I've never done it. So that's something else to think about at some point.
I usually get to 1 or 2. There's always a whole list of things I would love to go to. But for me, it's an overnight stay from the island. Oh, well, it would be for you as well.
Yeah. I love Glasgow, actually. It's one of my favourite places. I think I prefer it to Edinburgh, if I'm honest. It's just such funny play. The Glaswegians are just so funny. I mean that in the nicest way, just hospitable and funny, and Yeah.
It's a great place for music. There's great gigs all the time in Glasgow. Of course, now they've got the Conservatoire, used to be the Royal Academy of Music and Dance, rebranded into the RCS.
And the conservatoires these days, they encourage the kids from day one, don't they, to go out and play different forms, to busk and play outside.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole raft of young musicians coming up, taking the traditional music and making it their own in really interesting ways.
Yeah, I think the Sage in Newcastle is interesting because it's got that connection with the courses the university now do around traditional music, and some of the quality of the musicianship that's coming out of that is just absolutely stunning. You think, it's traditional music, but the chord, all the diminished chords and everything are just almost jazzy. It's wonderful. Yeah, I think we live in a great age of music, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you got any kids?
Yeah, I've got one.
Are they musicians?
No, when he was little, he played the piano quite a lot, and I actually named him for being a musician. His first name is Kieran, but I gave him a second name, Jonathan. I thought his initials KJ would sound good. I thought that sound good if you're a blues player. And then when I went to, people have never forgiven me for this, but when I went to register birth, one of my all-time heroes is a guitar player from the Bahamas, Joseph Spence, who he's a bit of a rare find, and he didn't really sing. He kind of growled over this, but the music is incredibly joyous. So at the very last minute, when I was registering his birth, I put Spencer in as a middle name, What? And every now and then people say, "Who's this bloke Spencer?" Do you play them the music and they're just silent? What? Yeah, so I gave my son, this is probably why he doesn't play music now. I gave him a name just because I thought it would look good as a blues player, KJ Howell. I thought that sounds good.
It does,
yeah.
No, my daughter's 12 and she plays fiddle, French horn. And my son is 10. He's just started. No, hang on. My daughter's 14. My son is 12.
I mean, is that easier because of the Arran environment?
I think
kind of slightly smaller.
There's a strong musical community. There's a fiddle club which my daughter was part of from a very young age, and still is. It's a really great club. There's a folk club. The high school's actually very good. With the brass particularly.
I think that makes a big difference. I've met a guy in Birmingham recently, last couple of years, and I meet him at open mics. And he's a really nice bloke, and he turns up with a 12-string guitar, and he has hundreds. He just knows loads and loads of covers, and he just plays them, and people sing along, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I was chatting to him one day 6 months ago, and he said, "Well, thing is," he said, "my main instrument is the fiddle." He said, "I used to play in folk rock bands and stuff," he said, "but I haven't done that for ages." And then one day he said to me, "What are you doing on Tuesday night?" I said, "Well," he said, "I've just bought a new bouzouki." He said, "I'm going down to an open mic." He said, "But I'd love to do some instrumental stuff." He said, "You can just busk it." And it's quite interesting. I've then got him to get his fiddle out, and I'd written a couple of songs which I thought might be nice for the fiddle. So I said, "Would you fancy putting these down? Putting something down as a recording?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll have a go." So he came out, and it was really quite nice. So we've done a few gigs together now.
Nice.
And but it's much more difficult in a big city like Birmingham because there isn't that tradition of it all the time. So now I find this guy, happily retired, great fiddle player, but no one to play to. real shame, really.
Yeah, it's a good find for you.
Yeah.
What sort of stuff then do you play when you're sitting at home?
My musical journey has been... I think my ultimate music is probably the country blues, of the 20s and 30s.
So Mississippi, John Hurt.
I don't... Blind Blake, Blind Boy Fuller, all those people. Blind Willie McTell. There's a great biography of Blind Willie McTell. You into that stuff? There's only one. It's just absolutely fabulous. So I really connect with that stuff, like a lot of people do. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's a connection with these, you know, guys from the 30s who were born in abject poverty. There's something about it that just kind of, you know. Anyway, I think that was started from, and then floated out into lots and lots of stuff. So I don't know. I like acoustic music. I like songwriters. I mean, who am I listening to a lot at the moment? Steve Tilston.
Oh yeah.
Nashville-based songwriter Howell Scott, who's just phenomenal. Wonderful, wonderful musician. He was in Robert Plant's band for a while when they were doing the Americana type stuff.
Was that the sensational speech?
Yeah, he's
Is that the guy with the big beard?
Yeah, Howell Scott.
Right, I know. Yeah.
Looking, well, some of us were talking last night about music, and we decided when we get back we're going to do a thread, and we're going to just put links to all the people we talked about. Howell Scott is just one of the most phenomenal songwriters, and he's not really a country musician. You know, he's a singer-songwriter. Some of it's a bit bluesy, some of it's a bit country. He's a phenomenal musician. Tim O'Brien, who does a lot of they play a lot together. I love all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Do you ever listen to Brian Sutton?
A little bit, yeah. But it's amazing how even people like Ryan Adams, you know, it kind of there's something in there, you know, that fusing together the rock and the kind of traditional acoustic music stuff. I like it very much, and I still, if I get a chance, I'm not particularly authoritative on it, but I still dig out traditional singers, and I find if I'm looking for a tune just to arrange for fingerstyle guitar, you know, go back to Annie Briggs or you know, June Tabor album or something like that, you know, and those people have got great taste, you know, and they find these wonderful tunes. So I still listen to quite a lot of that stuff when I get a chance, but I have to listen to it on my own at home because nobody else likes it. So, a great night in for me, just sitting there listening to this stuff. Yeah,
great.
Yeah. So, and the other thing these days, of course, is YouTube.
Oh, YouTube is huge.
God, what an absolute resource that is! You know, there are obscure blues banjo players, and I mean, banjo was the original blues instrument. If you look at that, I mean. There's footage of these guys playing from the 30s and stuff like that, you know. When we were kids, we never had that. No. You can actually dig that out now. It's a wonderful resource. Yeah.
And for learning as well. You can.
Yeah. My favourite night in on my own actually is to just sit there with YouTube, put the signal to the stereo system and just sit there and sometimes just let them recommend the links and recommendations.
You can fall into a hole.
You can, you can, but you can discover some interesting people.
Oh God,
yeah. So I've just been doing that recently with Paul Simon for some reason. Just reminding myself what a phenomenal musician he is. You know. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for sitting.
No, it's been great talking to you. It's great meeting you after all these years. Yeah, because I feel we know each other quite well. But that's the interesting thing about the internet.
And we share a Lucas and a Santa Cruz.
Yeah, there you go.
One of those two.
Great stuff.
Great to meet you. Thank you, Andy.
Lovely.
And let's go eat some food and play some music.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.